The United States is tightening the noose around Iran. For more than a week, American aircraft and also missiles have struck command centers, missiles and drones, storage sites, air defense systems, and naval facilities, including roads, bridges, rail lines, and communications networks. Explosions have moved from the Persian Gulf Coast towards the Iranian interior. An American base in Jordan has been hit. United States troops have been killed and military facilities across the region are operating under the threat of additional Iranian attacks. Warships are applying pressure around the Strait of Hormuz. Tankers are changing their routes, and every new strike is making the battlefield wider, sharper, and more dangerous. So what happens when a conventional war begins to reach the limits of conventional weapons? The campaign against Iran is no longer only about destroying the launchers or intercepting the drones. The United States is attacking the system that allows the Iranian military to function, like roads and rail lines that move missiles, fuel, and ammunition, which makes it very hard for the Iranians. Now bridges connect coastal bases with storage areas further inland. Communications networks transmit orders and targeting information. Radar sites help Iran detect approaching aircraft. When these links are attacked together, the objective is to reduce the regime's ability to coordinate, resupply, and respond. Military planners call this shaping the battlefield. It can support the blockade, prepare the way for additional airstrikes, isolate a target before a special operation, or create the conditions for ground forces. It does not prove that an invasion has been ordered. The same actions preserve several options at once, forcing Tehran to prepare for pressure from the air, sea, cyber domain, or special operations. But there's another signal coming from the United States of America, and it is much larger than the current war. Because while American forces are using conventional weapons against Iran, the United States has accelerated the work on the new nuclear gravity bomb known as the B6113. It is designed to strengthen the bombers. It carries a much larger explosive yield than the B6112 that preceded it. And it is intended to give the president another option against the hardened military targets and large military complexes that may be difficult to destroy with existing weapons. That does not mean that the United States is preparing to drop a nuclear bomb on Iran. There is no public evidence that the B6113 has been assigned to Iran, to the Strait of Hormuz, or to any specific underground facility. But the timing matters, because the weapon tells us how the Pentagon is thinking about the future. America is preparing for enemies that place their most valuable assets underneath the ground, surround them with air defenses, and assume that depth alone can protect them. First, we need to correct one common description. The B6113 is often called a tactical nuclear bomb. That's not the most accurate classification. The wider B61 family has included both tactical and strategic versions, but the B6113 is being certified for delivery by strategic bomber aircraft and will be stored inside the United States. In American nuclear doctrine, that makes it a strategic weapon. It's not intended to be carried by a frontline fighter and dropped like an ordinary battlefield bomb. It belongs to the part of the arsenal designed to influence wars, governments, and national survival. The word gravity and gravity bomb can also be misleading. It does not mean that the weapon is primitive. It means that the bomb is released from an aircraft and falls towards its target, rather than flying under its own rocket power like a ballistic or cruise missile. Modern gravity bombs can still use advanced guidance systems. The B6113 is expected to use many of the safety, security, and accuracy features developed for the B6112, including a modern tail assembly that helps guide the weapon after release. Accuracy is extremely important, because accuracy in modern warfare is super important, and it matters, especially if you're talking about nuclear planning. A more accurate weapon does not need to compensate for a large missed distance in the same way that an older bomb did. It can place its destructive force closer to the exact point that the planners want to attack, and that can make a weapon more effective against a hardened target. But it also does not make the explosion clean, small, or safe, because it's still a nuclear bomb. A nuclear detonation still produces extreme heat, blast pressure, radiation, and potentially radioactive fallout. Precision changes where the weapon lands. It makes a difference. Everything matters. It does not remove the nature of the weapon. It's still a nuclear bomb. The B6-113 is expected to use a warhead based on the older B60-1-7. The United States has not publicly released every technical detail, but it does not officially publish the precise maximum yield in the way that people often expect. Independent nuclear analysts estimate that its highest yield will be approximately 360 kilotons. That's roughly 24 times the explosive energy of the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. That comparison needs context. 24 times the explosive energy does not mean 24 times the destruction radius. Terrain, altitude, weather, detonation, height, and building strength all affect the result. Even so, a weapon in this class could devastate a large military complex and cause catastrophic damage far beyond the target. The B6-113 is also not simply a larger version of the Hiroshima bomb. Hiroshima was destroyed by a fission weapon. In this kind of a bomb, heavy atoms such as uranium or plutonium are split, releasing a tremendous amount of energy. Modern high-yield nuclear weapons are generally thermonuclear. They use a fission explosion as the first stage, which creates the conditions for a second stage involving nuclear fusion. Fusion is the same basic process that powers the sun, although a weapon releases that energy in an uncontrolled fraction of a second. This two-stage design allows far greater explosive power than the first generation of the atomic bombs. The B6-113 therefore belongs to the hydrogen bomb era, not the simpler atomic bomb era of 1945. Its combination of compact size, accuracy, and yield is what makes it strategically significant. But can it destroy a deeply buried nuclear facility? The answer is complicated. The B6-113 is not publicly described as a dedicated Earth-penetrating weapon. The United States already has the B6-111, a nuclear bomb designed to penetrate the ground before detonating. Even then, no bomb can simply drill hundreds of feet through solid mountain rock. Earth penetration is limited by physics. A weapon striking the ground at high speed experiences enormous stress. If it goes too fast, it can destroy itself. If it does not penetrate far enough, much of the energy escapes upward and outwards. A nuclear weapon can still threaten a deep underground complex without reaching the main chamber. The detonation can send shock waves through the earth, collapse the entrances, destroy the ventilation and the power, damage the tunnels, and trap equipment underground. But the deeper and stronger the target, the less certain that the result will be the destruction of the target itself. So military planners must study geology, construction, depth, access points, and hidden exits. A nuclear weapon is therefore not automatically the perfect bunker buster. Conventional strikes may repeatedly collapse the entrances and destroy support systems without crossing the nuclear threshold. Cyber operations, sabotage, intelligence penetration, or special forces may offer other ways to disable that site. Nuclear weapons become relevant only when leaders believe that the target is extremely important and cannot be reliably destroyed by any other means. And this is where the B6-113 fits. The Pentagon has said that the bomb will provide additional options against certain harder, large-area military targets. The phrase large-area military targets is important. This weapon is not only about a single underground chamber. It may also be intended for sprawling military installations, command complexes, hardened missile sites, or strategic facilities where one high-yield weapon could destroy several connected elements at once. The bomb is expected to be carried by strategic aircraft such as the B-2 Spirit and, in the future, the B-21 Raider. The stealth and the range are designed for heavily defended airspaces. A bomber also gives the president something that a ballistic missile cannot provide: recall. It can be launched as a signal and turned back before the release. That makes a nuclear-capable bomber both a weapon and also a message. The B6113 program moved unusually quickly. The first production unit was completed in May 2025, nearly 1 year ahead of the original schedule. Then, in July 2026, the National Nuclear Security Administration announced that all of the CAN subassemblies planned for the 2026 fiscal year have been completed 3 months early. A CAN subassembly is a critical component associated with the secondary stage of the thermonuclear weapon. When those units receive their official diamond stamp, they're certified as meeting the quality requirements for the nuclear stockpile. The phrase 3 months early sounds as if the United States suddenly rushed an entire nuclear bomb into service because of the war with Iran. That's not what happened, because the first production unit had already been completed in 2025. The new announcement concerned the scheduled internal components for the fiscal year of 2026, so completing them early matters. Nuclear weapons require specialized materials, secure facilities, strict quality controls, and rare technical expertise. So finishing ahead of schedule shows that the United States is rebuilding a production system that slowed after the Cold War, while sending a deterrent message to every government watching American military capabilities. The B6113 does not officially increase the total size of the planned American nuclear stockpile. The United States intends to produce it within the number of B6112 bombs that had already been planned. In other words, some planned B6112 production will be replaced by B6113 production. And the goal is not simply to add more bombs. It is to change the mix of capabilities that are available to the President of the United States. This also connects to the future of the B-83-1, which is the most powerful gravity bomb remaining in the active American arsenal. The B-83-1 has a maximum yield of approximately 1.2 megatons, far greater than the estimated yield of the B-6113, but the B-83-1 is an older version, and the United States has been moving towards its retirement. The B6113 does not fully replace that enormous explosive power. Instead, it provides a newer, more accurate, and more flexible option for some of the missions that planners worry could be lost as the B-83-1 leaves service. And now we return to the central question. Under what circumstances could the United States actually use the B6113? The American policy does not provide a simple public checklist. The stated position is that nuclear weapons would be considered only in extreme circumstances to defend the vital interests of the United States, its allies, or its partners. The decision to authorize this use belongs to the President of the United States. Congress does not have to vote before the President can issue a nuclear use order, although the military chain of command must verify that the order is authentic and lawful. In practice, using the B6113 would be one of the most consequential decisions in history. The President would have to consider military necessity, civilian casualties, fallout, allied reactions, and the danger of a wider escalation. he would also have to decide whether a nuclear strike would achieve the objective or create a larger strategic disaster. Against Iran, the threshold would be especially high. Iran does not currently possess a dedicated operational nuclear arsenal. Using an American nuclear weapon against a non-nuclear armed state would break a taboo that has held since 1945. It could isolate the United States diplomatically, trigger retaliation across the Middle East, endanger the American forces, and encourage more countries to pursue nuclear weapons of their own. That's why the most likely role of the B6113 is deterrence. Its purpose is to make an enemy uncertain. A government building a deep bunker must ask whether the bunker is deep enough. A military commander moving assets underground must ask whether those assets can still survive. A nuclear-armed rival must ask whether an attack on the United States or its allies could place even its most protected facilities at risk. Deterrence works through fear, but it also works through doubt. The enemy does not need to know exactly how the bomb would be used. It only needs to believe that the United States has a credible weapon, a capable delivery aircraft, and a president who could authorize the mission under extreme conditions. The current war with Iran gives this discussion immediate relevance, but it should not be allowed to distort the facts. The B6113 is not a normal weapon for the campaign over the Strait of Hormuz. It's not a substitute for Tomahawk missiles, bunker-busting conventional bombs, naval blockades, or air defense suppression. It's a strategic reserve for a crisis in which the president believes that the ordinary military tools are no longer enough. For now, the United States still has many conventional options. It can keep attacking missiles and missile forces, command centers, naval units, logistical routes, air defenses, and underground entrances. It can tighten the blockade, use cyber and intelligence operations, reinforce allies, and reposition forces without crossing the nuclear threshold. But every conventional strike also carries a message about escalation. Iran is being shown that its military infrastructure can be mapped, isolated, and attacked. The B6113 adds a darker message behind that campaign. It tells Tehran and every other adversary that the United States is also modernizing the weapons that it reserves for the most extreme possible war. The B6113 is not proof that the United States is preparing to use a nuclear weapon against Iran. It is proof that Washington wants every enemy to know that even the deepest target may no longer be beyond its reach.